Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to talk about Alephium mining and whether or not this thing is already over before it fully really got started. Okay, we're going to address a lot of the FUD recently, especially with a lot of you guys who purchased it. You're kind of already throwing in the towel. We're going to talk about it. We'll give our thoughts and kind of realistic expectations as to what to expect here. Okay, so if that sounds good guys, stay tuned. Let's get right to this thing. So right off the rip, just to answer that question, if it's over before it ever started, no, bros. This thing is literally just starting, especially for those of you guys who purchased it. How the hell are you guys just buying it and you're already like throwing in the towel? Okay, so let's take a look at it. And again, none of this stuff should realistically be surprising, right? We've talked about it for months and months and months, what to kind of expect, what the gameplay is here, and just future outlook, which kind of to sum up what we're going to talk about mainly, yield over everything, right? Exactly what we've been talking about these past like 2.5 years. This is still the most important thing here. Okay, so as we go on mining now, and this is where a lot of the FUD is coming from, right? When you look at the fiat profitability, it does look pretty horrible, right? We got a pretty extreme double whammy. We were definitely expecting one of them to happen, which is the hash rate increasing, therefore your yield decreasing. But then the double whammy part is this price dump, right? Which isn't just Alephium, it's all altcoins in general. Dumped pretty massively, right? In about the span of a month, a lot of them went down probably in some cases well over half, right? Including Alephium. Okay, so because of this double whammy, right, now the profitability looks drastically different from before the AL3 shipped, right? So we wanted to kind of wait a little bit, see what it did to the hash rate, and here we are now. So the IceRiver AL3 is down to $5 a day. This is on a 10-cent kilowatt hour, right? Obviously, the cheaper it is, it's going to look a little bit better. One thing to kind of note here, though, is the gold shell boxes. So actually, all of the gold shells are actually at a loss, right? So I did sort it by Alephium, but I'm not seeing like their larger little at-home one. Those are all the same efficiency, so those would all be at a loss. So currently, any gold shell equivalents are currently at a loss, and this is why efficiency is important, right? During those downtimes, which realistically these next like 6 to 10 months, probably not the biggest concern. Short-term wise, like right now, maybe, but in a few months, this is probably going to look a little bit different, right? But that's why I'm a big proponent for getting the most efficient unit. You're just increasing the likelihood of longevity for that unit, right? Which is something we're also seeing with like Caspa, for example. Currently, everything is at a loss except for the KS5 Pro, depending on your electric. Okay, and that's why I was a big proponent for getting the most efficient unit, even though the other ones may be better deals, right? It's going to get you through those tougher times, right? As these prices appreciate, both ALF and CAS, it's going to change and it's going to look better, all right? So just kind of keep that in mind. So let's look at the specifics of the AL3. So yield wise, again, every time we've checked up on it, it's been down and down. It's currently down to 11.77, which is what we're expecting. Realistically, it's probably going to go up at least a tad bit more. Expected to go down to about 10 ALF per day, right? Which again, isn't a shocker. The differentiator is just the price action, right? The fact that it's gone down in half. So again, if we were at the price from a month ago, this would look pretty different, right? Because again, just for basic calculations, this is another thing people are messing up on, that they were referencing like, okay, even if the price doubles, the profit only goes to $10. No, it doesn't work that way. You double your revenue and then subtract your electric. Okay, so it'd be $26 instead of 13 minus your 8, it'd be about $18 a day profit. Okay, if it just goes back up to the numbers it was a month ago. Okay, so that's where it looks drastically different. Just make sure you take that into account, right? That it's not just doubling this, because at that point, it's you got to factor in that electric. Okay, so one thing to note of there, but again, this is a long-term play. ASICs, mining in general, but more specifically ASICs, the name of the game is long-term. It's yield accrual. It's getting those coins, stacking those coins as much as possible. Those are going to be the ones who benefit. Okay, because realistically, if you're selling to pay the electric right now when the price is down in the dumps, you're not going to make out as well. Ideally, obviously everybody's situation is different, but the name of the game right now especially is to hold on as much as possible while yield is good. I know it doesn't seem like it's good because it's gone down so much, but just keep in mind that as ALF does appreciate, as it goes to $4, $5, $7, etc., guess what? The hype around these is going to go up. They're going to manufacture more of these. They're going to continue to sell, so that hash rate is going to continue to go up. Just make sure you're factoring that in, that it's a very immature network. It doesn't take very many units for the hash rate to just keep mooning, right? Which, depending on the price, it can definitely happen, right? This is still fairly small coin. It's ranked number 438 on CMC. Realistically, it's probably a little bit lower, just because CoinGecko tends to be a little bit more accurate, but just keep that in mind that if it does run, they're going to make more of these. The hash rate's going to go up. Your yield is going to go down, and that's just the way it's going to work. So realistically, the yield is good right now, and as crappy as it sounds, this price action is more in your favor. Okay, I get it. A lot of people said to me like, oh, what do you mean? Less interest in it means less units selling, means higher yield for a greater period of time. Again, like we mentioned, right when the price drop was announced, your best case scenario here is sideways chop for like 4 to 6 months, right? If you were to get as long as possible, therefore you can stack as much, right? While interest isn't necessarily there. Because again, on the flip side, if it did start ripping, if this thing was at $5, $7 right now, or even if it went up to $3, $4, right? More realistically, here in the short term, guess what's going to happen? They're going to manufacture a crap ton of these. Your yield is going to go down. So even though your fiat profitability might be better, your yield is going to go down drastically, right? Again, focus on the yield. That's where your main focus needs to be on, right? Because that's how you maximize that unit, okay? At least for my strategy. Again, everybody's strategy is different. Some people do not believe in that. Some people, nope, you got to sell your electric. You got to sell to pay your electric every month. And that's fine, right? It's definitely just up to you, but just from previous examples and history and looking at everything, it's the people who have made out best on these more speculative plays are the people that have been able to hold as much as possible and look for that price appreciation, especially on these smaller market cap coins. Okay, that's the real gainer here. Okay, but a big part of the reason that the yield has dropped so much is the hash rate, right? So currently, it still can go relatively higher on Alephium's Explorer. It's up to 48.5 petahash. We were expecting potentially somewhere between 50 to 60. Will it happen? Won't it happen? We'll see, right? Realistically, I think the majority of people who ordered have had theirs delivered already. Most of them actually got delivered last week. I know some people got theirs kind of late and just getting theirs now. But expect it to go up at least a little bit more. I would expect at least 50, 55. Maybe it won't hit the full 60, but that's kind of ballparking where the range is at, right? And because this thing is still currently available in stock, so it's available spot, means that that batch didn't sell out, right? So whether that batch was 2,000, 1,500, whatever it was, it still didn't fully sell out, right? It still actually is available stock, which is kind of a good thing, right? Because realistically, if this thing sold out and was available, then we know definitely it's going to peak out after a certain point. But right now, it may just peak out and then may kind of just stay there for a while depending on this price action, right? Again, if this thing starts mooning, this profitability is going to change, which is what everybody's fascinated by, is the fiat profitability and not the yield. Then things change, right? So make sure you're prioritizing the right thing, because I get it. Right now, it's like a drastic change. Like, oh man, it's down to $5. People were saying I was only going to go down from $30 to $15. Well, it's a double whammy. Again, we weren't really expecting this price action to happen, right? But again, for me, like I mentioned over and over, I don't necessarily care about current fiat prices. I care about the yield. Because again, the price can swing 50%, 100% in the matter of days, right? So the fiat profit is going to change, but the yield is going to be more consistent, right? That's what you need to focus on. That's what you want to focus on, okay? So in terms of what's going on with the Alephium, they still have stuff going on. We mentioned in the last video regarding that Gigaton partnership. They are still building. They are still doing their thing. It's not like it's a dead chain or they're limited or we're waiting for updates. They are actively building. Devs are actively building. There is a lot of things. You can go on alf.land, and it's a good way to kind of get an idea of what's going on, right? They do have like pretty much everything going on aggregated on one website. Has direct links to everything going on, which is pretty cool, right? So currently right now, for example, we are on the DeFi tab. The DeFi, you can see, is one of the more active places here. There are currently 22 different dApps here. You can go through, you can kind of check them out. Some still haven't launched yet, you can kind of check them out. So pretty cool stuff. So you can check out some of the DeFi, some of the other things. Realistically, this would be more my interest. This seems to be what's getting a little bit more traction, more than anything on their ecosystem, right? And they are actually now on DeFi Llama as well, so you can kind of check them out there. And you can kind of see the current growth, right? So if you go on DeFi Llama, you can see the TVL, which is the total value locked, on some of their DeFi platforms, which here they have the top four protocols: Alephium, AN, Phoenix, and AlphaPad, right? AlphaPad doesn't have anything. You can see the others. The only thing I'll recommend when you're looking at this, if you're looking at the charts especially, focus on not the USD valuation, but ALF, right? Because USD will, in many cases, or not many cases, but in certain cases, sometimes you will actually get a lot of growth in terms of the actual ALF that's getting locked. But if ALF's price is depreciating, then the chart's going to go down, right? You want to focus on that native asset. So just make sure you're looking at ALF, right? Because that's going to tell you the amount of Alephium, the coin itself, not the USD valuation. Okay, so that's what you want to focus on. Again, how active it is, the amount of tokens themselves versus the fiat value. Okay, but this is pretty cool. They can keep an eye on it here. These are the types of things we want to see. We want to see them continuing to build, continuing to grow, continue to do their thing. We'll see how adoption looks like, right? But it's looking like it's going to do its thing, right? So adoption and fundamentals, smart contracts, all that stuff isn't necessarily always everything, especially come the bull market, right? A lot of it is going to be narratives, fundamentals, marketing. A lot of those things, a lot of the times, have a bigger role in price appreciation. So just make sure you kind of factor that in. And sometimes it doesn't happen, right? Sometimes certain coins will have the best fundamentals, best everything, and it just doesn't take off, or it doesn't, at least in terms of price appreciation, right? Which isn't the only metric in terms of finding a project success. In our world, or specifically my world, what I'm looking for, that is how I value it, right? But just understand that sometimes this coin can have the best security, best fundamentals, most decentralized, and have the shittiest price action out of all the coins in its grouping, right? Just understand that that's possible. Now, as we look at price targets for this thing, again, it's totally up to you and depending on how you view it. For me, currently, it's about $110 million market cap. Out of all the ASIC coins right now that are more on the speculative side, to me, this one has the best narrative, best timing, best placing to potentially do the best here. Okay? The reason I'm saying that is it just potentially has more upside. It's a smaller market cap coin, does have a solid team that is building, that is growing. A lot of incentive for this thing to go up, especially from ASIC manufacturers, right? It's going to equal a lot of sales for them to actively promote, for them to actively, not necessarily manipulate, but potentially there. We tend to do see these narratives where when ASICs come out, prices tend to pump. Why? Because that's a good way to sell units, right? Why? Because the fiat profitability, which is what all the newbies focus on, goes up, and then what happens? It's an easy way to sell, right? But those are times for us to be dumping, okay? So in terms of the reason I'm saying it's a billion to me seems extremely feasible considering what it's doing, what it's done, especially when compared to even the previous bull market. Again, my biggest guideline for this is looking at like Ravencoin, for example, which is literally just more than anything a community coin. Last bull market back in 2021, it hit a peak as far as their market cap goes to $2 billion. Okay? We're just putting at it that it'll hit half of that. Okay, so to me, that's almost more on kind of the bearish side. Maybe it doesn't get too much adoption. I think a billion is extremely realistic. It's not a moon boy number. Like, I think that is something that realistically can definitely hit even beyond, especially if it does take off. Okay, like even hitting potentially 2 billion, like even matching Raven coins from last bull market. And understand that this is going to also be different. Again, this is that previous total market cap. Now, if we're estimating that it's going to potentially double, 2.5x, maybe 3x, it just makes it even more likely for that potential to happen. Okay, so just make sure you do fully understand that also. Okay, so that's why for me, I think 1 billion is very realistic. Can it happen? Won't it happen? Maybe. And this is where things change when you look at it long term and you value it at what your potential projections are, right? Maybe you're a little bit more bearish and you think it'll maybe only hit a little bit more than the bear market all-time high, which is 380 something. Maybe you think it'll only hit $5, right? Let's look at what this Alephium ASIC miner would be making then, right? If we're looking at it, and let's say let's even add a little bit more difficulty and bring this down to your yield going down to 10, okay? If it goes up to $10, if it hits this $1 billion market cap eventually, it's like you're mining $100 a day. Okay, even if you're on the more bearish side and you think, oh, I think it's only going to hit maybe about $5, think it's not going to do too much more than the previous high, which is around 375, 380, somewhere around there. That'd be like $50 a day still. Okay, which to me is not bad. Okay, is it going to be guaranteed that it's going to hit those numbers? No, we're just speculating. It can do that. It can just stay at $1 for the rest of this bull market. Do I think that's realistic going to happen? Hell no. Again, to me, even $5 is borderline bearish. Like, to me, it's struggling to get any kind of adoption, which we kind of know it's not, right? We can see on the DeFi aspect it's going. We can see that big gigatons deal that happened recently. So things are definitely taking off there. Okay, so again, things are going to change drastically as ALF does appreciate, which again, to me, the advantage goes to people who are mining and hodling here. And the reason I'm saying that is because we only needed to hit that peak at any given time for a single day, right? We don't necessarily need to hit good profitability for 8 months for us to make out well here, which if you are selling your electric to cover your rates every month, you kind of do want that. At this point, you do want a steady progressive rate for an extended period of time. If you're a person who's mining and hodling, though, I think your chances of making out well go up dramatically, though. The reason I'm saying that is because a lot of these altcoins do similar things to like this Cadena chart where it hits the peak within the matter of a month. Obviously, looking at it this zoomed out, it looks like it's like a one-day thing. It's not. This is this over the span of, when you look at this initial peak here, this is the beginning of November. This is November 7th, all the way over here till December, right? The beginning of December. So you have a decent stretch, a few weeks of time where you have time to sell here, right? And realistically, if you're mining and hodling, you only needed to hit a target number for that one day, and you can dump all of them that one day, or you could dump 50% and think it's going to go higher, and then 25% of it goes high. However you want to do it, right? That's all you need to happen. Will it be a blow off top like this? Will it be something that stair steps and continues to go gradually? That's kind of also a good scenario, right? Especially for those of you guys who are selling to cover that electric if you're unable to pay for everything up front. Because again, it depends on the extent of your farm. If you're a person who has like, you bought freaking 20 of these things, then that's going to be extremely hard to try to cover that electric out of pocket. But if you're a person who's just has a couple of units, kind of like a lot of smaller at-home guys, it's something that's feasible, right? So it just depends on your risk tolerance here, how you want to play it. But to me, even, I get it right now, people are super bearish, like, oh man, it's such a big mistake. You have to wait and let this thing play out. Like, even with the Caspa ASICs, that's something hearing over and over. It's like you have to let things play out. If by December 1st of this year we are at the same price point, then yes, that risk was definitely a flop. If December 1st, 2025, Caspa never hits above 15 cents again, then yes, it was a dud. Do I think that's going to happen? No. Right? Same with the Alephium. Do I think it's going to stay at $1.10 this whole time? No. Right? You have to look long term. You have to focus on that yield and what that yield is potentially going to be worth. Okay, so ignore the noise, get the emotion out, look at the numbers, run those numbers, look at those projections, make your own projection, make your own targets, make your price targets. Where do you think it's going to go? And obviously, as time progresses, you're going to be able to see what happens. Because chances are, if things kind of repeat by March, we're almost definitely going to be over $1.10 unless something drastic happens. If things kind of go in our favor, February, March tend to be extremely good. Chances are that even here in a few days with the inauguration, things can flip bullish really quickly also. Okay, so don't lose faith, guys. we're at the end. We're basically at the damn finish line. Okay, don't fuck it up now. Like, we're here, we're there. Think logically. Get out of this like bear sentiment that, oh, Bitcoin's down to 93. It's crazy that people are bearish saying those kind of things, right? But regardless, it is what it is. Just keep stacking, bros. Whatever you're mining, whether it's this, whether it's that, GPU mining, CPU mining, deep pin items, whether you're just staking, whatever it is, focus on stacking, right? Think positive, get those emotions out, look at the numbers, remind yourself why you're doing this, remind yourself of the potential here and what can potentially happen. Everything is lining up. I get it. Sentiment is pretty bad right now, but look to the future. Stay focused, keep stacking, do the damn thing. Okay? So let me know in the comments, guys. How's your AL3 going? I know a lot of you guys did get into this thing, which again, is to me, it's not a bad thing. And again, I know people's sentiment like, oh man, it's only $5. So during these times, by the way, FYI, probably a good time to buy, right? You can do both. Don't put yourself in the box like, oh, the only way I can stack is just by mine. No, bros. Like, when the price is at lows like these, again, not financial advice, do whatever you want to do. But, I mean, look at this support. You see it all the way back for a year in this dollar range, right? When it hits this one, between $1, $1.10. Ever since that pump, right? That pump back in December 23, that like changed everything because it never retraced back down to these levels. Okay, but just again, look at this chart, look at these numbers, look where we're at, and again, this is a way to kind of like double down on the unit, right? Which is what I still do with the cash basics, right? Even when everything's down in the dumps like this, it's time to buy a little bit more, right? And even with the Alephium right now, like as soon as this video's done, I'm gonna end up buying the rest of my bag, right? And that was kind of the choice I decided to do, which is why I got those AL0s, just so I can stack whatever I end up stacking and then buying the rest of the coins, right? So kind of up to you, bros, but just keep those things in mind. But again, let me know how it's going. If any of you guys who are having it at home, how's it performing? I know some people have been having issues with getting the full 15 terahash. Some people are getting between 13 and 14. Most likely it's the temperature of the unit, right? If you're in a really cold place, because again, even like these AL0s, which again, it's the same chips in this thing, they like to run hot. So if you're having issues there, you may want to recirculate some of that hotter air, kind of mess around with those temps and see if that helps things, right? But let me know in the comments, guys, how it's performing. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I am out.